Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will be checking out a new one from St. Arnold. From their 26th anniversary weekly release series, Raspberry Sour. Aged in whiskey barrels with vanilla bean, 6.6% ABV. Got the infamous 2020 stamp, Houston, Texas. 500 milliliters. Oh god, it's crinkled. And I'm not going to read it. So, yeah. How's everybody doing today? Doing alright? Anybody else get this yet? So they just released this one today. And, yeah. I drove in the city, got some stuff from St. Arnold, got some stuff from another brewery we'll be checking out soon. And, yeah, I don't know. So this is basically raspberry AF, aged in whiskey barrels. It eludes me, it skips me how long they put this in barrels. I wanted to say it was like quite a while. Was it 13 months? I don't know. I'll put it in the description or something. I don't know. They put it in barrels for an extended period of time. So anyway, you know what? I don't know what this. Okay. Yeah. So raspberry. Yeah, it's a pretty good beer. Pretty good shelf raspberry sour, I would say. It's not a smoothie sour. Thumbs down the video. It's not a smoothie sour, but. You know, back in the day when we were just kind of getting started with sour beer here in Houston. So, pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. So, pouring a second glass. My lovely wife. Boop. And, I'm going to bring it to her and we'll be right back talking about the beer. Right. Check it out. So, pours out, I don't know, it's like a light, it has a light pinkish reddish hue to it. It definitely, I couldn't tell you the last time I had raspberry F, but I remember that beer being a little bit more intense in terms of just hue, like more of a raspberry light color to it. And this definitely looks closer to, it has an amber color to it, so... you know, I probably wouldn't have guessed that it was that original beer. I mean, raspberry sour. It's pretty closer to the amber side of things. Not really that pinkish, deep, purpley red tone that you get from most raspberry sours. They use, of course, a ton of fruit. So I'd imagine the fruit content on this was a little bit lighter. And they're going for a little bit more, probably balance here. So anyway, slightly off-white head. It's pretty much on the aroma. Nothing too crazy. Let's aroma. Good lord, I'm already drunk. Appearance. Check out the aroma. All right, so the raspberry is pretty good on the aroma, actually. Yeah, it's mostly what I get. I mean, it's not super jammy or anything like that, but excuse me, definitely get a pretty decent amount of raspberry fruit. Really, that's it. There's some acidity there for sure. Definitely some acidity there. But, you know, this was in whiskey barrels. I'm not really getting I'm not getting vanilla bean. Not getting typical characters of whiskey barrels. That kind of caramel, mapley type of character. It's not too cold either, honestly, so who knows, it might come out as it opens up a little bit more. Okay, I'm starting to get a little more vanilla. Yeah, so starting to get a little more vanilla, so it just needs to open up a bit. So I found it interesting they put it in whiskey barrels with vanilla bean. You know, maybe they wanted more of this kind of sweet, savory type of juxtaposition, I guess, with that. I don't know how sweet this is going to be. But And typically, you'd think, okay, you put a sour beer in barrels. What kind of barrels you put it in? I'm pretty um, preference I guess the classics in a sense, right? Put it in wine barrels. That's typically what you would do, what most breweries do. So I prefer that, but I have had some good sour beer in non-wine barrels. So who knows? We'll see what it does. Cheers. All right. Okay, so I'm getting so a lot of what I got on the aroma is right there up front. It's definitely got some nice acidity to it initially, and I'm kind of going to talk about the initial and mid palate versus the finish. So definitely getting some raspberry fruit. Get some nice acidity up front. I get that vanilla bean for sure. Whiskey barrel, couldn't really tell you there. Now, it's pretty good up front, and then I feel like it fades right into the mid to end palate. The raspberries pretty much linger off. The vanilla lingers off. A lot of the character kind of falls off. And it feels a little flat to me on the end. I get that base beer, that malt character on the back end, but I feel like the flavor doesn't carry all the way through. At least that initial flavor of like that nice raspberry acidity in the vanilla bean. And you know what? It kind of reminds me of. There's a raspberry mead from, I don't know, Texas Mead Works maybe. And I get that kind of feeling. Now, it's not as thick as that. It's not as intense in raspberries, but I get that kind of, like, it almost has, like, that kind of quality to it. And I think it's because there is a decent bit of kind of a sweetness, I would say, from probably the whiskey barrel. Um, well, I don't know how wet it was. I mean, it couldn't have been that wet for this. It's not super intense on the whiskey, to be honest. I feel like I get a bit more of like an oaky tannin-like character on the finish. So they probably weren't that wet. But there's a sweetness that kind of hits right after the initial taste. That kind of, I don't remember. I don't remember the last time I had raspberry F. I don't think it was that sweet. I think it was a little more tart and dry. Definitely has a dry finish, but there's a sweetness like initial to mid palate. That kind of reminds me of like a mead-like quality almost. Not that sweet, but it's like going towards that, and then it finishes dry. But the acidity feels a little bit lighter there on that second sip. Body is, I mean, it's 6.6. It's, not too full. Carbonation is, medium, moderate. It's a little bit less so, I would say, than raspberry, just from being in barrels. Yeah. Overall, it's solid stuff. I would have wanted more fruit, a lot more fruit. The vanilla it's interesting, it's fine, but it's not. I don't think it necessarily needed it. I mean, I would have wanted this with just a lot more fruit, and probably in wine barrels. I mean, they wouldn't be the only ones to do it. Obviously, we have Israel that came out, and it's a little bit different, but I think that this with like a ton more fruit in wine barrels, like red wine barrels, and with Brettanomyces, I think that would have been awesome. Some sort of mixed culture fermentation or whatever like that would have been really, really interesting and cool to see. But overall, it's solid beer. So, I mean, if you like raspberry and you want maybe a little bit more easier drinking sour beer with a bit of a vanilla dry barrel character to it, check it out. But I wouldn't go crazy over this one, to be honest. I think it's solid stuff, but I'm not super impressed. So overall, 4 out of 5. I'm saying it probably doesn't meet my expectations of what I was hoping this beer would be, but it's still not a bad beer. So, still tasty, still easy drinking. So 4 out of 5 for me, and yeah, that'll pretty much do it for St. Arnold's Raspberry Sour. So, as always, cheers. I'll catch you guys later.